Well, you know, um, me and Johnny Cash, made the rock and rollers look like sharecroppers or choir boys.
I mean, apart from that, didn't you always try uh, to open up, um, like not to necessarily stick to what's being called country music,
Yeah.
but to kind of connect to other genres also.
You know, before I forget it, though, I want you to know we talk about Johnny Cash and I and drugs, and we both have had our problems with him. You know. But there's one thing that we can say, and we don't know why, but we never gave each other drugs. We never did. We never shared that part of our lives. We lied to each other a lot about it, but we never did share it. You know, when I came here, I was, I guess, known as a troublemaker because I, uh, I really had my own ideas of what I wanted to do. And country music has always been a closed society, and it's always been suspicious of change, and they don't, and suspicious of outsiders. I was born and raised in Texas, but I had moved to Arizona, and I had played in a place called JD's, and I had cowboys, college students, and college professors all came to see me. So I was pretty well free to do whatever I wanted to, and I loved rock and roll music. I loved the Beatles. I loved, Rolling Stones. And of course, I worked at one time with Buddy Holly, but that was many years before. But the thing about it is, I could not figure out why you couldn't put a rockin' beat to a country song, because they borrow from us. The Beatles and the Rolling Stones did a lot of things that had a country base to them. And I thought, well, why do you have to have all these limits? Oh, you can't do that. That's rock and roll. You can't do that. That's pop. You can't do that. I said, no, no, wait a minute. Let's just try it and see. And so I did change a lot of things in country music, but I like to think that I broadened the base, and and took away some of the limitations that they had put on themselves, and therefore they have a lot of limitations now. They've come back to that, and they call that country because they think because you're limited that it is country, and that's not necessarily true. I think we can, no matter what, like I said about the Roy Acuff song and the Henry Mancini Orchestra, you've still got country music, no matter what kind of music you put around it. It doesn't matter. Now, they had a system here when I came to town, and I didn't fit because the thing was you go in with 4 songs and you record 4 songs in 3 hours. And no matter what you got, that's what you were stuck with. There was no changing it. You had to come back the next day and do it again if it didn't work. But that's the only time you had, was that much time to do it. And they would rush you. And it was kind of like assembly line music where they just did it in like a car, building cars. No matter what. When it got past you, the other guy was working on something else. If you weren't happy, that's too bad. But and you had to record in their studios. You had to use their producers. You had to use the producers' favorite musicians, which is the way they're doing it now. There's a lot of that now because you don't have the freedom. And I can't understand, and I couldn't understand then how a guy could go to college and get a 4-year degree in marketing and come and tell me he knew more about my music than I did. They didn't want you to have ideas. They wanted you to come in and do it like they had a thing called the Nashville Sound. And me and the Nashville Sound was like oil and water. It just didn't mix. There was no edge to that music. It was one thing, and everybody recorded, and it all sounded the same. And it was the thing that worked. I didn't want to destroy that, but I didn't want to do that. So therefore, they saw a danger in me of destroying what they had going. So they tried to destroy me, and consequently, in the process, they destroyed themselves. So the system was gone for a long time. It's back now. The producers have it. We have some really good producers, and we have some of the worst that you've ever heard in your life. They have no idea what they're doing. All they do is go home and listen to what somebody did over here and do the same thing.
speaking about producers, you had stopped for a little while, I understand,
Mhm.
and then you decided to still do some new records, and
Yeah.
you did one with Don Was, and I heard about the idea behind that it's supposed to be pretty pure, pretty stripped down, as opposed to being like very produced or so forth,
Mhm.
which reminds me a bit of the last Johnny Cash record.
Oh yeah.
Which I like very much too, and also
Yeah.
from the production. And in both cases, the producers are not traditional country producers at
Yeah.
all. Is that an idea you have to get out of it?
Well, I'll probably, never be a part of this. I never was, if you don't know the truth about it. I've always used left field people, what I call left field, come out of left field. And they usually have better ideas and wild ideas. That's where Chet Atkins was so great, and always has been, because he is one of those left field people. You think he's right down the center, but he isn't. He sees things in things that are not the norm in music. And that's the way I've always, like when I was doing things like Got to Hide Your Love Away and well, I Used to Love Her, but It's All Over Now. They thought I was crazy, doing all those Beatles songs and Rolling Stones, and I did Norwegian Wood, did that. And then I did a song called MacArthur Park with a group, and we got the Call of Kimberleys, and we got a Grammy for it, Well, when I was doing it, they said, he's crazy. He's just going to ruin our music. And when I got it, everybody said, that was wonderful idea, So I don't know. I guess I kind of got off of it. But the thing about it is I decided to quit once because Epic Records had told me that when I was with them that really nobody wanted to hear me sing anymore, and that, the radio wasn't going to play my records anymore, and they couldn't do anything. So I said, well, that's all right. I don't even have to work anymore if I don't want to. And then I probably had a little bit of a pity party, kind of hurt my feelings. And then I realized I've never let anybody run me off from nothing, and they're not going to run me off here. I will be standing when all of this is faded out, when they've run it in the ground, in which they're doing. See, record companies and executives and everything, they have a little thing now that doesn't carry over to drawing people. They have people who sell a lot of records, but that's all. And it hasn't, when they go out to do a show, nobody shows up. 300 or 400 people. And you think that they're really big, and they draw 2,000 or 3,000 people, and they give the tickets away to make the big coliseums full. And I didn't know that, but see, it's the record company blamed it on radio. Radio blames it on everything else. It's not a hit record. How do they know it's not a hit record if they're not going to play it? I don't, but it's this way. When you go in with a song, they listen to it and they say, well, can you dance to it? And will it make a good video? And then all the way down to the bottom, they say, is it a good song? It used to be the first thing that people ask about a record, is it a good song? Now, some of them, I'm not talking about everybody, but these producers then will go in there and try for that. They try for that. Then they put it and they make a video. That's the second thing in line. Is it a good video? Will it make a good video? And then the song, like I said, it's a circle. They go from the record company to the video to radio. And they actually overexpose the artist. And they last about a couple of 3 years, and then you don't hear of them no more. That's the way rock and roll was in the 60s. Great group come out with one hit record, and then you never hear. They call them one hit wonders, But there's some great artists falling by the wayside, but they don't care. They really don't. The record companies don't care, and the radio don't care. They say that's not their problem, and they sell 2 or 3 million records and draw 300 people. But see, we've kept our drawing power up. And radio, it doesn't matter. no matter what. If they never play me again, I'm still going to draw 5,000-6,000 people no matter where I'm at, and make as much, make as good a living as I want to make. Or if I want to quit, I can. But see, radio has no control over the people, only the charts. That's all they control. And commercials, they're trying to make commercials, and I don't understand that, because, it looks like you'd want people who spend money to listen to your radio station. Most of them are younger audiences. So why can't you have them all? I don't know what age has to do with music. And there's definite discrimination against anybody over 40 that they won't play you. And they've talked about, we have a great lawyer who is getting a class action suit against several of them, one of them in Nashville, of discrimination, And so me and Willie and Chris and John may own 2 or 3 radio stations before long, because they're going to lose them.
That's great. I mean, I think it will turn out the other way around, because I have the strong feeling that people are looking for some substance, for some position, for some some stand somebody has, some individuality and so forth. And with all these, these puppets around in the business, I think there's going to be a backlash in favor for you. I think.
I don't want anything that will hurt country music. I think country music is a really important thing, but they've got to come back around to what country music really has always been, and that's truth. Every time rock and roll, seems like, through history, if you look back at it, every time rock and roll self-destructs, then they come back to the basics. And that's what country music is, the basics. And I think they'll do the same thing with this, and there are going to be some good ones. Travis Tritt will still be there. Now, I think Winona Judd will be there. She's wonderful. And Teresa Yearwood. Those are the girls. The girls are the ones who are doing it right. They're the ones. Right now, the guys are doing all this hunk stuff where you have to have, what they call them, hats and thighs. There's a bunch of them that all sound like, they're imitating Merle Haggard. And they got, and George Jones, they get, but the thing is, the girls are not under pressure to be sex objects anymore. You had to be very pretty, and now they're finding the great songs and singing them and making the great records. Where the other guys, in fact, I've talked to some of the girls, they said, it's about time. Said, now they're on the chopping block, up there they have to wiggle and everything to get anybody to pay attention to them. And they're laughing about it, a lot of the girl singers. And I like that too, though, because they were wonderful. Some of those things, the song Remembers When, that Tricia Yearwood did, is just probably one of the best songs and best records I ever heard.
Great, I think. Let me see if I forgot something really important. Well, actually, you said it in many words, but I really like this line. I don't know if you want to. I found that quoted. You said, "We didn't write songs for dollars, but we wrote them on dollars."
Something. Oh yeah.
Is that true? I mean,
I've written. Yeah. We didn't write songs for dollars, but on dollars. Yeah, I've written songs on just about everything. I wrote "Are You Sure Hank Done It This Way" from my house down to this area one morning and recorded it. And you couldn't even read it. It was so scribbled. I wrote it in the car, And I write, songs now, I'll show you right now. Just let me get in my pocket here, and I'll show you how great songwriters do it. I think that's the wrong pocket. Let's see. Yeah, probably is. I'll find it. Here we go. Now, this is songwriting at its best. See? Now look at here. See? That right there is the start of a song. But it's in my pocket. Now, here's some more starts of songs. You write them on whatever you got, at the time. And then you do it in a hurry, and it says, you know, there's some more, and here's some more. But that's the way you do it. I've written them on dollar bills. I've written them on everything. And then one time I wrote a song on 3 envelopes and lost one of the envelopes. So I never knew what that third verse was. Yeah. But it's fun. Songwriting is the most satisfying part for me, to find a good song, have a good song come together. You know, you write a lot of stinkers, and you think they're so good at the time, but it's where your mind is at the time you're writing them. And the ones that last are the ones that the next morning when you wake up and say, yeah, that was good. Yeah. And there's not a lot of those, but the ones that are worth it.
Well,
Thank
thanks
you.
very much.
I enjoyed it very much. Tell everybody you all are from Germany.